Easy people, back with another nice things to know. I want to just say something because I've done this 3 times because I'm trying to think of how simple I can do this. I tend to not do any scripts, so all of what I say on all of my videos is straight off the top of my head. Like I say, I don't like to edit because I either show my mistakes in real time. At the same time, I'm a real human being, so I'm bound to make mistakes, but you learn, and hopefully it's helpful to you to say, well, look, if I can do it, so can you. A little pre-ramble. One of the main reasons why I kept this machine is this next feature, and one of the main reasons why I basically do these vids. And what it is I like the idea of democratizing music. In other words, letting everybody have a chance at creating music. So if you're not some skilled, knowledgeable music person, you still can create your ideas, because I think the more people doing music, the better the music becomes, because of the way it is. There's a lot of mystery, and sometimes there's a lot of elitism, and I'm not keen on that. So what I try to do is I try to show everything that I know, in the hope that what I know helps people who don't know. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense, yeah. So anyway, like I said, it's one of the main reasons why I kept this machine and why I kept learning it, and also why I keep providing all the stuff that I provide, because like I said, I want more people to do it, so I try to make it as easy as possible, so there's more people, because like I say, then it's not snobbery, it's just music and creativity, and we can get better music. And the thing that it is launch. I keep saying launch. I mean note config. Now, the thing about note config, which is ace, is, and again, this is for people who have no music theory, or somebody who might have very little music theory. If you have music theory skills or music knowledge and music theory, then you might learn something interesting today or not. But basically, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, so I might not even be explaining musical aspects in any kind of depth. They know that on a music keyboard, there's black keys and there's white keys, and that's as far as it is. So that's kind of who I'm targeting at. And anybody else might go, oh, good Lord, I did not know that. So in note config, things I concentrate on, which are the things to concentrate on in this order. Well, they're not in any order. I'm not going to do that. I'll just say it's like this. It's scales, harmonize, chords, and progression. Me personally, progression's my favorite, but I also like harmonize, and I'm starting to respect harmonize a lot more than I did. Chords, I don't really need it, but chords is pretty good if you want to do covers. So if you want to do covers of tunes, and if you can get the chord sheet or anything like that, you can use chords to do covers of tunes, because you'll be able to see a C major 7th, and then you can just go, all right, and put C major 7th in, press that, I've got that C major 7th chord, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of helpful in that way. Yeah, I suppose. Scales is the number one thing for everybody who hasn't got the foggiest about music. And what it is it's a way of making sure you play the right things. I'm doing this inverted comma thing because it's like singing. It kind of helps you not be like, if auto-tune helps people to sound better, then scales in this way helps people play the right notes, or makes notes what work together better. Yeah. Chromatic is like just whatever. And again, that you can have that in this order, and this is kind of in a way, if you've ever seen people with a push, they usually have it like that. But again, they're pretty musically skilled. Whenever you see somebody and they've got it like this, it's like, yeah, they know where the notes are, because they're putting notes which are not in the scale of something. But anyway, let's get back to what I'm saying. There's 4 major aspects. There's 3 major aspects, and 2 that you can observe and like keep them in the back of your mind and go, oh yeah, that's useful, I'll remember that. But there's 3 that you want to kind of concentrate on. It goes like this: root note, scale, and octave. After that, you've got velocity. And then finally, after that, you've got whatever's down here. At the moment, this is in filter input. That's what's there at the moment. Depending on what you're on, this thing might change. And again, that depends on what options you have. So that's just another option. And it's got pluses and no, it's got no minuses. Well, it just is. That's it. That's the best way of saying it. It just is. So let's talk about the root. So the root is like the key. The key is kind of like a key. It's the way to open the door to the rest of the musical notes that work with that key. Yeah, wow, that was quite good. I actually like that. Just thought that right now. So so in this way, how this is C major, octave 3, this now is saying to me that this is the key of C in the scale of a major scale. Well, and it's in an octave, the 3rd octave up. So let's break that down a little bit more. So this is the root note. This is the main note. Like I said, the key to open the door to the rest of the scale. This is the leader of the pack. The rest of the pack is where that thing there, the scale. At the moment, this is major. So these notes after that key follow this note around. So the note what's got the colour in it, the notes after it follow it around. Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. The octave is this thing here, this note here. So what we're looking at here is C3, and how we can tell where we are in the octave, if you were to look at a music keyboard as an example, just to give you a rough idea, if you were to look at a musical keyboard, this would be the middle of the keyboard, this note. If I move this to 2, this is now C2. So this would be moved down 1. If I moved it up 2, this is now C4. So that's the way you want to look at it. So this is C4 now. So if this is C4, this is C5, because you can hear it's higher. So this is an octave, because the number, that's 4 and that's 5. So it's an octave up, which would be 12 steps, but you don't need to know that. So, or 8 notes. Well, yeah, it's 12 semitones, but 8 steps. Kind of. Yeah, right. So anyway, let's go back to here. Go back to C3. So we've got the key, the root note, what we said, because we can see its colour. We've got the scale, the notes that follow it around. And we've got the octave where it is on, like in the keyboard, if it's higher or lower. After that, you've got the velocity. The velocity is good. And the reason why I'd say sometimes it's worth using the velocity is because depending on the plugins that you've got, because a lot of the plugins have different layers of sound. And an example that comes to mind is electronic piano, the Rhodes keyboards, anything like that. I personally like when they sound smooth, and they sound smooth when it's a lower velocity. So to fix the velocity, you can move that, and then now this is more gentler sound. Also, this helps if you've got mallet hands where you like this, or you've got butterfly fingers, because it's gonna be at a fixed velocity. So that comes in handy, depending, like I say, on the sounds. I think it's good with Rhodes. Sometimes it's good with strings and pads, because it can have the nice harmonics on the quiet bits of pads. Again, you go through the tracks, you'll see. Filter input in scales at the moment, in this type, what we're using, which is scales, this goes to an outside keyboard, as I've explained, or maybe I haven't, I can't remember. But I don't talk about other external stuff because I don't know what anybody's got. I have explained a keyboard because I believe it would be insane if anybody had this machine had never seen a music keyboard before. So I'm going to assume that people have seen a music keyboard, but I'm going to assume they only know the difference between the black keys and the white keys, i.e. they can see in colour or they can see in black and white. So there's a little tip, because I'm here, I'm giving tips. C, if you ever want to know where that is on the keyboard, is the note before the two black notes. So if you see two black notes, the note before it is C. If you see three black notes, the note before that is F. So always remember, C is the two black notes, F is the notes with three black notes. Yeah, so there you go. Right, so normally here, everybody with novations and Ableton pushes would probably see this, so let me go here. And all that's champion, and you can play stuff and it'll sound right and whatever. But if I don't know stuff, I've got no idea what that is. I've got no idea that that's F. And let's say I don't know what it is, and I can find out, because if it was in C, as we had, so let's keep this open. Let's keep that open. Let's go back to scale. Right. If I'm in C, it's like an alphabet, but the alphabet only goes from A to G. Well, it goes from G to sharp, G sharp. Right. Then I could go C. So what's after C in an alphabet? D, E, F. Oh, good Lord. Well, I was wrong. That was E, isn't it? E, D, E. No, F, G. So that's G. So it's not C, F. So I was wrong. Look at that. That's C. And it makes sense where it is, but never mind. So I go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and we're back to C. Right. Well, that's no good, because I'm going to have to be remembering a load of stuff. So an easy way of doing it, which I say, is the execution. This is where it becomes brilliant, this and the Akai Force, and where it differs from the push or the novation or all of them other ones, is if you look down the bottom of here, you got these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You might have thought, oh, well, they're track numbers, and they are, but they have an additional thing when it comes to the note config. Because if you look at these numbers, they go from an octave. So you've gone to an octave. Now, there's a thing called the numbering system, which is not necessarily music theory. It's something that I think blues people came up with. I can't remember who came up with it. But this is an easy way of not having to understand music theory. You only have to understand numbers, and you only have to remember numbers from 1 to 7, really. But 8 is the octave, so you only have to remember 1 to 8. And for anybody out there watching who might be over 30, or anybody who's into like Back to the Future, science fiction, or there's a film called Back to the Future, and at the end of Back to the Future, the character Michael J. Fox is playing with a band on this at this prom, and he says to the band, right, we're going to do a 1, 5, 3 or something, and he says numbers, and I don't know, you might have seen numbers in films or whatever, and what they're basically saying is the same as this: 1, 5, 3. 1, 5, 1. 1, 5, 3 isn't a progression that I know of, but it could be 1, 4, 5. I think is a progression. 1, 3, 5 is, because you can hear it there. And what these are is the way that notes work together. Is again a way of simplifying it. And what it means is when you use harmonize, the next thing that I'm going to show, these notes work together. 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. Not the 1, 3, 5, but the numbers work together. So now, if I press 1 and I press 3, you can probably hear how they go together. Hopefully you can. But this is how you can do many, many styles of music, even jazz, which is like the hardest of music to do. And I always say it's a rule of thumb. Anytime you can do jazz on a piece of equipment, you can usually do all on it. So anyway, 2, 5, 1. It's a really common progression in jazz and soul and anything like that. Any soulful stuff usually has or some kind of derivative of 2, 5, 1. So there's other ones, 1, 4, 7, which are usually more poppy. So you might be saying, well, that's interesting, but how is that of use to me? Well, again, like I said, you've got 2, 5, 1 here. So what we can do is I can now do a 2, 5, 1 progression, and I'll do this now. Let me go put this to screen. I'm going to do it slow. And I'll do a quick 2, 5, 1. So here we go. Where's it? 2, 5, 1. So all I have to do is look at the bottom. I don't have to worry about all the rest of the keys. I can just look at the bottom. 2, 5, 1. Now, if you go and look on YouTube and you look at some jazz people, they'll probably say, oh yeah, that's the conventional one, but it doesn't really sound right. Or if you're into jazz and you've heard it, you go, that doesn't really quite sound right. And all that is voicing. I don't want to get too deep. So how can I fix that voicing? Well, because I only used 3 notes, and you would use 4 notes usually, but I want to show this as an example. What I can do now is I can go back to the scale, and I know that 2, 5, 1 is the right stuff. So what all I have to do, let me go back to note, is say I don't want it to be C3. I want to have the bass of that to make that sound right. So I'll just move that to C1. So 2, 5, 1. So now your mileage can vary. You can do different things. For example, I could look for a 2, 5, 1 progression. Is there any more of a type 2, 5, 1 progression? What's further than 2, 5, 1? Well, maybe it's 2, 5, 1, 4, 6, 3, 7. That's quite a popular jazz soulful progression. Let me try that. Let's see if we can do that. So let me go back to harmonize. So I've said 2. Oh, good lord. Let me go up an octave again. We'll go there. I'll go. What did I say? 2, 5, 1, 4, 6, 3, 7. Does that sound right? 2, 5, 1, 3, 6, 4. Yeah, I don't know. Try that one. We'll try that. Here we go. 2, 5, 1, 4, 6, 5, 7. I know what it is. It's the other way around. That's why it doesn't sound right to my ears. I'll do that one more time, because why not? 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. That sounds right to my ears. So that was a 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. And you can look these up. If you want to ever look for progressions, just type in progressions and just type in numbers like 1, 4, 5 progressions. If you just type in progressions in YouTube, you'll find them, or Google or anything like that. Or if you get chord sheets or whatever, you'll see the numbers. You'll see them usually in Roman numerals. I don't know why they're in Roman numerals, but if you look them up, they'll be Roman numerals, and it's a numbering system. So I've done that. 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. So I could do that. But do you know what? I'm going to do one more thing, because there's something interesting that I forgot to mention. So I'm going to change this scale chord, and this is how many notes are being played at the same time. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to say you're better off keeping to 1, 3, 5 and 1, 3, 5, 7. You can try other notes, and you can try that. That's a flat. But I would keep to those, and I'd just change the scale And you'll start to see how that kind of makes sense. It's more about the numbering system. So I'm going to do that again. So here we go. 2, 5, 1, 3. Do you know what? I can't remember what it's 4. I should have wrote this down. Like I said, it's off the top of my head, but we'll be right. 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. There we go. Right. So here's the thing. If I go to clip, and I'm adding this in now because it just came to me, and I'll add it in now. If I go to clip and I go to list, what this is showing me here as the root notes of whatever I played in light. They're always in light. The root notes are always lit up. And what I can do with that root note is, if I press shift and I'm on this pad note thing, I can move that up or down. So I can move that down now by an octave, and I'll move it back to where it was. So what I could do is, I could go through. You have to be careful here because it's a bit fidgety. But if I keep my finger on shift and I press that, and then if I carefully on the edge of this kind of scroll up, and I do that, and then I scroll up, and then go like that, and then scroll up carefully, and go like that, scroll up carefully, scroll up carefully, and then I go shift down. I've just moved them an octave. So the other thing I can do as well is I could go, that was interesting. I'm not keen on this chord here, this bling, because it sounded too high there. So I could select these. I could have selected them in list, but I'm selecting them there. I'll go back to list. Again, carefully scrolling down just to not knock it off. I go down to here. You don't have to do this, but well, you do, because you have to touch the pads, unfortunately. So I'm down here. Keep my finger on shift. I touch the pad notes here. I tapped one off. I'll just tap it back on. I can move this down an octave, and I've got. So what I could do from there, additionally, is now I can go back to my scales, and I could say to myself, well, I want that lower. So shift, no, config. You can also use, don't forget, you can also use octave, shift and octave to go lower. So if I remember what it was, it's 2, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3. But because now I've got this in the scale, other notes work as well. But let's just keep it to the same, keep it easy. So here we go. So you'll probably see how harmonic that is. I could get even fancier, but that's that. So you hopefully you'll see how that works. I only had to think about the numbers. So as long as I remember the numbers, I don't have to say, well, what is that? Is that an F7 add 9 or flat 13th or whatever? And this is how you can create really jazzy chords, because I could probably even say, right, that's 2 I'm fine with, but let's say I wasn't, I could go, maybe I want to be in 6. So 1, 6, 3, maybe, I don't know. No, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, put it this way, the numbers at the bottom match to this. So if you match and you think of the numbers, whatever you play will be right. And just to look at it in a different way, because that was kind of more jazzy, less jazzier would be if I did something like No, I know what we'll do. I will go to what I want to show the next thing, and I'll wrap this up. So I'm gonna go here. Let's say you've got a sample. I've got this sample here. Oh, good Lord, turn it down a bit. I've got this sample, and let's say I've got no idea what the key is. It does say what the key is, but I've got no idea what this key is, and I want to start a tune with this sample. There. What I can do is I can go to launch. I keep saying launch. To no config. I'll go back to my keyboard, and then I keep pressing the root note until I hear it match what's going on in that tune. So here we go. So I'm pressing that. I'll bring that up higher. I'll bring this up higher to C3. I'll play this. So that's not right. Let's move this key. Not quite right. Oh, that's right. So now I've got one part of this. So now I only need to, that's the leader. So I need the keys what should follow it. So then what I do is I can press this. Does that sound right? Doesn't sound right. So it must be, if it's not major, it must be minor. Does that sound right? Yeah, it does. Because I know now, if I play stuff... So that seems to be right. Well, that's great now. So now I can do something and it's going to melodically, I could do riffs or whatever. But I'm pressing load of notes over here and maybe I don't know what these notes are. I get confused. But if I look at the bottom and I keep to the bottom file, I know that there's numbers. So I only have to remember the numbers. So what can I do there? Well, now I could just say to myself, well, I know the first thing is D because it's a root and it matches. So if I say to myself, let me harmonize with that. This is going to be right. This is going to work with this. So the only thing I could do is I say, before I do harmonize, maybe I'll find something what works with it at the bottom because I know one works with it. So maybe that works. Anything else? Oh, that's nicer. So what I've got is 1, 4, 5. So it's just 1, 4, 5. So let me go back to harmonize. 1, 4, 5. Well, because of the type of music this is, it's going to be a bit too exotic, I believe. But let's keep it. It's probably better as a triad. Let's just do it as a free. So like I said, 1, 5, 3, the 3 notes. Sometimes, because it's like an extended chord, I don't want to get into that. Basically, if it's not 4 notes, it's 3. So if it's free, and that sounds right, that's right. If it isn't, try 4. But use the 1, 3, 5 and the 1, 3, 5, 7 first, then try the other ones. So that appears to work. So that's great. So we could add that in 2, 3, and I didn't even mean to do that. So we've got now 1, 3, 4, and 1, 4, 5. So that's the thing. We could do that. So let's try that then. 1, 3, 5. What is it? 1, 3, 4. 1, 5. 1, 3, 4. 1, 4, 5. Here we go. And then now I know that because I said 1, 3, 4 and 1, 4, 5. If I was to add another plugin, let's say I just added one of a bass, and I'll go clip and I'll go to the bass here. And I'll just choose any bass. That. So all I need to do is just change where it is. So I'll bring it down to octave 1. So it's 1. So I said 1, 3, 1, 4, 5. Right, okay. So yeah, holy moly. I know that might have been a lot, and hopefully a lot of that made sense. I should finish off because I only showed you the 2, so let me finish the rest of it off. Let's get back to here. We'll stop all of this shenanigans, get back to here. The next thing is chords, and I'm just going to quickly go across chords. Chords is useful if you're ever going to do cover versions of stuff, and you've got the sheet. If you've got the chord sheet for cover versions of stuff, so for example, you've got a song and it says it's in D minor, then you know the key's D minor, and then you want to get the chord, right? So the first chord is a D major 7th. Let's move the octave up again. I've got that. That's chord. The best way of using this, easiest way of using this is just change this note. So if you had the sheet, and then it said it was the next thing was E, or E minor, then and it was just an E minor. Go to E minor, and then just add that in, and then you just slowly build up your track over time. Like I said, mileage may vary. It's not quick, but you can use it for doing cover versions. Like I say, this is for, again, people with very little music theory or none at all. My favorite one I like to use all the time is progression. Main reason being is you can add your own progressions, and the progressions are already locked in, so you know that they're going to work or not, depending on who made them. Depending on who made them, you can make your own. How you make your own is quite simple. I've done the chords here, there. If I wanted to make that into a progression, all I need to do is go into the clip, go back to, well, I don't even need to, go back to clip or edit, go back to clip or list. I'll say that again, go back to clip or grid. And then you press edit, and you go here and you go convert, and then you can name it here. And if you name it, the best way to name it is, if, for example, folder, no, so this is how it goes: category, pretend I spelled that right, category, and then if you put a minus in and then chord, what it does is it creates a category and then a chord. So I'm not going to do that now because I'm not going to save that. And what that does is it creates this. So it creates a category, like I've got loads of categories here, and then if I press into there, it'll give me the chord in that category. If you don't do that, what happens is it just goes into other, because other's a category that is already there, and then it'll just add it to other. And where that stuff is added is into the main, main Force folder. So the one what comes with the machine, it adds progressions into the folder there. So you can kind of copy them out. Well, you can't copy them out because you can't get access to that folder. I wish they'd change that, but there's a lot of other things, and like I said, I could go into a rant about things that they should change, but I wanted to keep this quite quick. I hope that was helpful. Is there anything else that I forgot to mention? No, showed you how the key is and everything else. The categories, yeah, that was what I was going to say. That's the only stuff you should ever want to save to your force is MIDI information. Don't save audio to the force drive. You're causing yourself a load of issues down the line, even bigger issues further down the line. That's all as much as I'm going to say. You'll call yourself serious grief. So I would, if I was you, save MIDI progressions and that's it. Just MIDI stuff to the force drive. Save everything else on an SSD drive or an SD card or a USB stick or whatever. And that's the biggest tip I can give you. If you've bought this, don't start saving audio to the drive. If you haven't got anything in it, you're just gonna have to just switch it off, because believe me, you'll be calling yourself a load of grief down the line. Always use the force drive only for the operating system or for like little MIDI file things or progressions, which is the best of all worlds. Or MIDI, like I say, MIDI files, because then you can import MIDI files and then you can create your own little MIDI file structures. Or effects or anything like that. Anything that comes with the machine. So, for example, if you're doing a rack effect, you're doing plugins, presets, if you're doing effect presets, anything like that, progressions, save them, because they're not, it's just, all it is words. But anytime it's audio, you're taking up that space. And when you come to deleting it, you might delete something that belongs inside this machine. And that can easily happen because people get confused and they think this is like one of them old MPCs where you can just wipe the memory and it'll be fine. And it's like, no, it won't be fine. You'll mess up the structure. So there you go. So that's as much as I say. It's gone on a bit longer than I wanted to. Like I said, it's hard. Music theory is complicated and I've tried to simplify it. So again, to repeat, use the numbering system by looking at the numbers here and use this back and forth. Anything that you weren't sure about, write in the comment section and I'll try to answer as much as I can in the time that I have that I can answer questions. All right then. So until next time, like I say, take care. Peace.